Okay. All right. Well, welcome to Future Focus. This is a quarterly planning workshop. And as the day that we're recording this, it's April 1st. So we're at a beautiful day to kick this thing off and to think about Q2 and what it is that we want to accomplish over the next 3 months in our business. If we've not met before, and I know at least Erin, you're familiar to me, but the rest of you, I think you're new to doing an event like this. And my name is Hillary Johnson. I've been a business coach for 9 going on 10 years now. I've been a business owner for 14 years. So I bring a lot of practical knowledge to the space, not only from launching and growing and selling some of my own businesses, but also because I get the opportunity to work with many people just like you. Many business owners that are in various stages from starting out and trying to figure out like how does this thing work in the first couple of years, all the way to those that have been doing this for 25 years or beyond. And they're dealing with different challenges. But the through line is that for all of us, there's a certain necessity that requires us to really think diligently about what it is we're trying to do and create through our business and make sure that we're building it in a way that's intentional and it's really aligned towards the life that you want and towards the goals that you have, of which they will be unique to you. And that will definitely come out today. So we're going to go ahead and dig in. And of course, if you have any questions as we go through this, don't hesitate to put them in the chat, and I will be happy to answer them as we go. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to be swift through some of these pieces and everything will be timed. I'll run the clock for you. We'll know where we're going. I'll get you to the finish line. And that's really where we're going to start, is with this first question, to really begin with the end in mind. And I want you to take just a minute to think about what is your hope for today. You're going to build a quarterly plan for your business. And I want to know, what are you hoping that this exercise is going to bring to you and to your business? And another layer of that is specifically, how do you want to feel when this is complete? So I'll give you a minute to get some thoughts down. If you're in a position to type something into the chat, I would love to hear a couple of the words that come to mind about how you want to feel when you have your quarterly plan complete. So give me a few words so I can see where we're at today. Grounded, focused, empowered. I dig that. What else? Excited and prepared. Yeah, I like the energy that comes with that. Stability, growth, expansion. Okay, great. How many of you want to feel confident about your plan? Yeah. How many of you want to feel some clarity, like around this is what I need to do to get the results I want? Yeah. These two words come up a lot when I talk to business owners. You want to feel confident. You want to feel like you have a clear plan that gets you where you want to go. And we can answer a lot of that today. And you'll start to see methodically how all of this is going to build one step into the next. And we're going to start by just setting the framework. When we are running a business, there are some very specific things that if we do and we do them well, we get where we're trying to go. And really, the map to that begins with mission and values. Now, that's not something we're going to work on today, and that's okay. We're not working on necessarily vision today, though we're going to talk about it. But the pieces that follow when we are clear about our mission and values and our vision, after that, it's like, well, what's the strategy? How do we go about achieving that vision? And then from that come our goals, which is more specific. What are the things we're going to do? And that drills all the way down into action plan where things get very small. It's the little bite-sized nuggets that you can look at and be like, I can do that. I can take action on that thing today. The plan, though, is not enough. And y'all know that better than anybody. We could plan all day long and nothing could happen until we actually get out there and we do the things. So taking action is really important for us as business owners, but it's got to be linked to this stuff, or otherwise we're just busy. And I think every one of you, if I'm like, have you ever been busy and then been like, what am I doing? We've probably all had that experience, right? It can be very easy as business owners to just be tied up in doing and doing and doing and not really understanding how it connects to the bigger picture and ladders back to that vision that you have, that you want for your future. But as we take action, one of the things that we want to be doing is tracking and measuring it, because that allows us to see what's happening. You know, if we set out in our action plan to do 10 things, do we do all 10 of them? That's step one. Do we even do it? But if we did it, what were the results of those actions? And that's data, both qualitative and quantitative, that gives us information. And when we analyze that, we get the ability to make it better. And that's where those arrows then point back to the top. It's like we take the data and analysis and go, cool, let's begin again. And we keep restarting this process over and over and over. And really good business owners understand that. Um, and I know that many of you know this. You know it intuitively, even if you've never thought about it or never seen it laid out this way. So we're going to work through several pieces of this methodically today. And the piece that we want to start with specifically is looking at an after action review. We're going to look at Q1 in this case and ask ourselves what happened. That's in the track and measure so that we can start to make it better before we do anything else. So the first question I want you to think about are the highlights. When you're thinking back about the last quarter in your business, so in this case, Q1, what happened? And I want you to think about what just comes top of mind. These are the things that have been on your mind. You're like, wow, that went really great. That's going to go in that green check column. Anything you're like, it's a highlight, it was good, it was awesome. On the other hand, I also want you to capture things that weren't so good. Put those in the column where we've got the little red X. This is just whatever's top of mind. I'm going to give you, let's go with
Your knowledge base.
3 minutes.
Perhaps.
Oh, everybody good? I don't know where that came from. Okay, let's take 3 minutes to work on this, and then we'll proceed on to the next piece. If you have any questions, stick them in the chat. And you've got one more minute just to see what else comes top of mind. Okay. I have no doubt that you captured some things there because we tend to have things that weigh on our minds, whether they're good or bad. And I really shouldn't say bad. We should say not so good. Let's go further though. I want to actually dig a layer deeper because oftentimes the things that are sitting on the top of your mind might not be all the insights we need. So I'm going to ask you to dig into 6 different areas. This is going to bridge across the next 2 pages. So here, what I want you to think about again, you're just reflecting on the past quarter and what's happened in your business, and you're reflecting again on what was good and not so good. I want you to look at revenue and profit, the money part of your business. The second piece is products and services. This means the stuff you sell. A way to think about that is maybe some things are selling really well and some things aren't selling particularly well, or they're harder to produce or harder to create or easier. The third piece is marketing and sales, which is the way effectively you're getting other people to buy whatever it is that you offer. How well are those things going? And then as you get onto that second page, you're going to look at systems and processes. And you can kind of think about this as being just the logistics part of how you run your business. People and team is the next component. So I would say here it can include you, but it's probably going to include people beyond just you and how those things are working or not working. And the last piece is very much about you, leadership. How well are you occupying that role of the leader in your business and the mindset that you're bringing to your role? So here, I'm going to give you guys like 4 minutes to work on all of this since we're digging a little deeper. And I'll give you that 1 minute timer. You've got 1 more minute to work on this. Okay. Our time is up on these pieces, and I know that that probably felt fast, but I have a sense that you probably got to some good insights rather quickly. You live and breathe this every day. You know your business better than anybody. These things tend to rise to the surface rather quickly. But the question is now, what do we do with the information we're gathering? We've been thinking about the stuff that's been happening in our business for the last quarter, and now the question that you've got to ask yourself is, so what? So what? Now what? Um, I want you to be able to take the information you've gathered and use that to inform three things. The first is, what are the things you need to continue? Because there's a lot of good in every side, in every business, and every client I get to work with. I can look at stuff that's happening in your business and be like, babe, you got to keep going because these things are going really well. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But there's also some stuff you're doing that is not working, and it just needs to stop. It's not the kind of thing you want to continue at all. We need to cut it and be done with it. But there's some other things we need to start. And sometimes the start are new things we've never done, but there's sometimes things we have to evolve. And so there may be something that shows up on the stop list that's like, we can't do this anymore, but we need to do this other thing, or we need to change it and do something different. So I'm going to give you, let's go like 3 minutes on this page. I'm going to check in and see how y'all are doing. If we need a minute more, I'm going to add it. We're right at that 3-minute mark. Does anybody need like another minute? No? Okay. All right. So I just want to note here, one of the things we're doing today, we're really focusing on this kind of qualitative input, right? Because if I ask a bunch of you to show up and then say, "Hey, bring your, your P&L and L and let's look at all these metrics in your business," that can be a little rough. And not everybody's measuring precisely the same metrics beyond financials. So I just want to note we've done this analysis, we've looked at things in your business, but we have not looked deeply at numbers. And there probably are some numbers that matter to you. So I am going to encourage you, even though you know directionally what's happening, you may need to look a little deeper to come up with some numbers to make this even more meaningful. But I trust, as with most business owners, they know enough to know directionally what's happening, so we can do this without having that for the purposes of today. Okay, so now the question we want to dig into is, where do we go from now? If you think back to that initial graphic, it's all the way down at the bottom, right? And I'll actually flip back to it. We've just gone through this process, kind of tracking and measuring and making it better. We're like, okay, what do we do? That's that question. So what now? What? We've got information. So we start to bring it back up to the top. But the piece that I want to just remind you is how all of these pieces link together, because I do want you to be thinking about them, even just for a minute today. I want you to remind yourself of what the heck you're here for. Why are you doing this? Mission. Why? This is the purpose. It's why your business exists and who it seeks to serve. Your values. This is how you do what you do. They create the framework by which you make really good decisions. So, for example, if honesty is a value in my business and I'm behaving in a way that's dishonest, I'm out of alignment with those values, right? So, I do want to think about how values affect our decision making. Vision. This is just like the big destination, and usually that's set off a little further into the distance. We can think about a couple years out, 3 years out, 5 years out, sometimes 10 years out. It's the big picture of where you're headed that often keeps you pretty motivated to do the stuff that you need to do in the near term. Strategy, that's just the route. It's essentially saying, what's the approach that you need to take to get where you're going? And we will be doing some strategy work today, but I want you to be thinking again about what's your vision, because that will help us make sure your strategy is aligned. And then goals, these are the smaller nuggets. They're like, what are the little pieces and the things we need to do that are specific, that are actionable? And all of that should ladder up to getting us to where we're trying to go, if done right. So does this make sense to everybody? It's a framework, but they're all for. Okay. So here's how we're going to start to dig into the strategy. Again, we're going to take into account everything we've got so far. You just did the quarterly review, you got information. I also want you to think, just reflect on it, mission, values, vision, and your annual goals, so that you can answer the questions that follow. The first one is, what needs to change or evolve? Is it any of these or all of these? Your vision? Maybe you're like, oh man, things have changed so much that that vision no longer applies. Our goals, like, wow, we set some goals and like, that ain't going to work. We got to redo the goals. Or your approach. We like our vision, we like our goals, but we didn't get the results we wanted, or like something ain't working. So we need to change the way we're going after the goals. It could be any or all of these. So I want you to circle the ones that feel like they pertain. Could be none. If you said yes to any of them, I want you to just note why. And then the last question on this page is, what does success in your business mean to you? I want you to just define that for yourself very quickly. What's it mean? I'm gonna give you just a couple of minutes here before we move on. All right, does everybody have a decent idea of what success means to you? What it means to you in your context of your business? Okay. So let's keep building on our strategy. And I want to make sure when we get to this next page that everybody follows me because I've got some blank holes here on the page. And I want to make sure you're like, I know what goes there. So when we think about strategy, what we're really saying is, how do we take this vision? So I have a vision for my business that looks like this in the future. In order to get there, I need a strategy. So we're not to the goal setting phase yet. We're really just saying, what are the big things? We can think of them as pillars or focus areas. They're big. And they're the things that we go, if we focused on this thing and got really good at it, everything in our business changes. It's the kind of things that if we're doing them and we do them well and we do them right, it gets us where we're trying to go. And they're at a high level. So it could be an example like we get really good at um, lead generation or a funnel that converts, right? It could be really good at customer service. That's something we need to improve. See, that's like kind of high level. It could be, frankly, that marketing is a thing that you've not been spending any time on. You need to do that. It could be like, I have no idea how my financials like work. I might need to get like more money savvy, right? So we're going to think about these just from a high level. Any questions about that before you start to write down your own? Okay, we're looking for no more than 5. That's why you got 5 holes here, but 3 is your minimum. I want you to have 3 to 5 focus areas. Fewer is often better, but 5 is fine. All right, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to see what you get down. And really make sure they're the things that they would make the biggest impact, the biggest difference on your business if you get them right. We still got a little time, but if you started to land on some things, start to pop them in the chat for me. I want to see what's coming up. Like, what are these big focus areas? You can just use like 1 or 2 words, just shorthand it for me. I'll be able to read between the lines. And okay, brand awareness. Got it. Top of the funnel. We need people to know who we are. Mm-hmm. Brand building, brand awareness. Mm-hmm. And Erin, I saw your question. I just wasn't sure I knew exactly what you meant. So if you put it in the chat, I might be able to help you. Strategic partnerships. Okay. Yeah. If we figure out the right people that we can work with, that can sometimes open the doors to other opportunities. Mm-hmm. Good. I dig it. All right. Certifications or networking. Yeah, definitely. Right. So sometimes um, we need to beef up our own credibility or authority to be operating in a space, and certifications can help us do that. Sometimes networking, we can look at that differently. Networking might help us get out and meet new people and connect and build relationships, right? Yeah, these things are great. So the way we want to be thinking about these is that they're things that if we say they're important, they're the kind of things that we're going to get ready to start to build goals on, right? We want to say over the next, and this is where strategy is often more than a short-term game. So even though we're here setting Q2 goals, and you'll see how they connect, some of these are things that you're going to be working on for the next couple years. It's not the kind of thing that's transactional. It's the kind of thing that, like, we're going to have to spend some time getting this right, but if we do it, boy, it sets us free. Like, imagine if we really build top of funnel brand awareness, using that as an example, if we get more strangers to know who our business is, right? That creates a lot of people here that come into the top of the funnel. You might come back later and be like, well, now we got to do work transitioning those people at top of the funnel to bring them in. We want them to pay us and come be our clients or our customers, right? So it can create new opportunities, but we can't be down here trying to transact with them if they don't know who we are. But how long it takes to build brand awareness? Well, I don't know. I mean, Coca-Cola does it still, and everybody knows who Coke is. Innovative and unique offerings and specialties. Yes. Sometimes we have to look at, like, what the heck it is we're selling and then go, do I need to be doing something different? A lot of businesses are asking themselves this exact question right now. The world's changing very rapidly. Many of us are having to change along with it. Yeah, these are really good examples. Okay, so here's how we're going to make that more meaningful. We now want to take it and build it into a winning strategy. And again, I'm going to ask you to be think bigger than Q2. What's the focus area? So that might be strategic partnerships. And I want you to write what's the best possible impact. So when you imagine, if we do strategic partnerships right, this is what could happen in our business. If I do networking right, this is what could happen in my business. If I roll out these new offerings, this is the best possible impact it could have in our business. So focus area, what is it? Best possible vision of what can happen if you get it right. And let's take a couple minutes here. And if you have questions, stick them in the chat. Okay, you've got about 1 more minute here just to refine this, get a vision of what's possible if you go hard on these focus areas. Okay, does everybody have a fairly decent picture of the things that would make the biggest difference in your business? Okay. All right, let's keep building. So we're now going to take that work that we've built on strategy and start to let it inform the next piece of the puzzle, and that's goals. And now we are starting to drill down into the quarter, right? So I want you to be thinking, what is possible for us to do, or what is possible for me to do in the next 3 months? Um, Goals, I really want to make sure we're clear about this. Goals are going to sound a little like vision, but they can't be just hopes and dreams. They have to be something that we can really take action on. And again, it may be something that you start in Q2 that has some extension into Q3 and Q4 and beyond in your year. But we do want to be thinking how we isolate down and say, what is possible that I could do in the next 90 days? And our action plans are what makes it very granular. It's the way we take it down to something that we can control. So everything that's on your action plan is something that you go like, yeah, that's something I do. We can control it. So to drill this down, we now want to think, okay, in Q2, and again, let me ladder it for you just quickly in your head. It's like you've got your mission and your values and the big vision you're trying to achieve. You have an idea strategically, the things that's important for your business to get really good at. All right, now it's Q2. You have an idea what your goals were for the year, but what do they need to be now? And I want you to land on 3 to 5. And again, it doesn't have to be 5. Fewer is often better because it makes it easier for us to focus and apply pressure on the goals. But 5 is possible. But I want you to be asking yourself, can I actually do these things in 90 days? So whatever lands here, these are things that you go, yep, Q2, baby, we're going to do it. All right, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. And here you can just kind of sketch out the high level of what the goal is in each of those boxes. And we're going to actually build these in the pages that follow. Okay, so let me just do a quick check-in. I want to know the number of goals that you guys have. Stick them in the chat for me. Where'd you land on quantity? Okay, I got a 3, I got a 5. Anybody else? 5? Mm-hmm. It can be really hard to go fewer. 3. Okay, 3, 5, 3, 5. No 4s today. Okay. So I want to make sure we've got enough time for those of you that do have 5. We're going to give you time because I want you to be able to map all of your goals, because that's how you are going to feel more confident and clear about what it is that you need to accomplish for your business. So let's go to the next page. I'm going to walk you through this because I want to make sure you know how to set really good goals. And I'm going to give you some advice you've probably not heard before, but some you probably have. So the first thing is, I really do like the SMART goal framework. And the reason why is because it takes away any guesswork about what the goal is. And the reason why is that if you're not clear about it, nobody else is clear about it. And I like goals that, like, if you write it and you give it to me, I can look at it and go, oh, I know what that means. Because as soon as there's a question mark for a third party, it almost tells me that you're also not clear at the same time. So SMART goals are specific, meaning we know exactly what you're going after. They're measurable, meaning we can track it and know if it happens. It's achievable, which really is a question of saying, like, is it realistic? And in this case, is it realistic to happen within Q2? Do you have, and it's not only timing, it's like, do you have the capacity? Do you have the money or the resources necessary to do it? Relevant, this is a question of, does it connect? Does it connect to your vision? Because if it doesn't, why are you doing it? And then time bound is really just a way of locking it in and saying, we're getting it done by this date. And sometimes, as I mentioned before, we might not complete it in a quarter, but we want to have a milestone that we're measuring in a quarter. So a few other things we're also going to look at, and this is again how we set really good goals, is I want you to be able to connect it to your why. So for every goal you write, and we'll look at the template in just a minute, I'm going to have you ask yourself why. Why this goal? Meaning, what's the motivation? Like, why is this so important to do? Because the motivation it's got to be intrinsic. It's got to come from you so that when things get rough and tough and you have other things going on and you're tempted to push this off, you can remind yourself why this was so damn important when we sat here on April 1st. And also how you'll celebrate. So business owners tend to be really good at, like, breezing by things and being like, yeah, I got that done. All right, what's next? We don't pause long enough to actually celebrate the good work that we do. And that can be little things, like little milestones, but also the big goal. So I want you to mark how you're going to celebrate when you achieve these bigger goals you're setting out in Q2. And the last pro tip here at the bottom of the page is just, I really want you to keep in mind when we get to the action items, there are things that you can control and things you don't. And I'm going to give you some examples from the high level strategic objectives that you shared with me. So, like, let's take brand awareness. Like, on the brand awareness side, that might for me translate into, like, okay, I need to do a better job of posting on social media because I want more people to see our stuff. What do I control of that? Well, I can control what I put out on social media, but I have no control over whether or not it's seen or not unless I'm paying for ads. I don't have any control over whether anybody interacts with it or not. But if I don't put it out, they sure as crap can't interact with it, right? So I can only really create an action item for what I control. Put out social media X number of times per day or per week, right? Strategic partnerships. So my part of that I can control is I go out and I make connections with people that I would like to build partnerships with. I do not control whether they say yes or not. So I can't put in my action item secure 3 partnerships because I don't control that. That's the goal. I might want to secure 3 strategic partnerships, but my action item is what I can do. I will go out and make contact with X number of people in the hopes of getting the 3 that I want. Certifications. Now, this is one where, like, you might control it wholly. Like, I want to get a certification to do this, and I've got a date, and I'm going to do it. Creating new service offerings. Like, cool, do it. Whether or not people buy it or want it, we don't know, but we can create it and offer it. So that's just the way I want you to be thinking about this. Think about what you can control. So let's look at the framework. At the top, you're going to have one page for up to 5 goals. The top is the goal. What's the thing you're going after? And I'm going to you need to ask yourself after you write it down, is it specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound? If not, go back and add the piece that needs to be there. Up next, your motivation, your why. Why are you doing it? So when it gets rough, you can come back and go, yeah, this is why. Action steps, what needs to be done that you can control. And the deadline, right now, you may not get the dates, and that's okay. That will probably be part of your homework. But at least I want you to be thinking about the first several things you need to do. Usually for most people, that's about 10 in a workshop like this, so you can get a number of things down. The idea is to get the ball rolling. And then when you achieve the goal, how are you going to celebrate? So I'm going to just mark this. We're going to do like 5 minutes per page because I want everybody, if you have five goals, I want you to get to all five. And for those of you that only have three, when we get that extra time, I'll find something else for you to work on. All right. So let's go. Goal number one, 5 minutes. Hit me up if you have questions. Okay. Let's go ahead and shift to goal number 2. Okay, if you haven't already, go ahead and go to the third goal. Okay, so if you have a fourth and a fifth goal, go start working on those. I'm going to come back and check on you, see when you're done. If you had three goals and you're like, I'm done, I'm gonna give you a couple things you can do. One, go back and review what you've written and see if you've got it far enough down the line. Like, or do you actually need to add some more steps? If the steps feel like there could be steps inside the steps, break them down a little further. Number two, you can actually grab your calendar for April and ask yourself when you're going to do the things and see if you can get pretty clear about what could happen in the next 4 weeks. Because if you get a real run on those goals early in April, you set yourself up for a solid Q2. So those are my first places I like to start. And then the third is if you need to assign work to anybody, think about who you're going to give it to, who you might delegate it to, or if you need to hire help, who that might be. Okay, I'm gonna check back on everybody in a couple minutes. And if you need more homework, let me know. Okay, just want to do a quick little check-in. Who needs like just a couple more minutes to make sure they got all of their goals mapped out and feel good about it? Yeah? Okay. I'm gonna give you guys 2 more minutes and then we'll kind of regroup and land the plane. All right. I know you guys have been busy working. So I want to just start to land the plane here and then I'll come around for questions and we can workshop some stuff together with the last few minutes. So as you wrap this up, remember planning is wonderful. I mean, it's important to do, and so many business owners don't really take this part seriously. But I can tell you that I'm 45, so I've been working professionally for, 24 years or whatever, since I was 21 out of college. And I can tell you that all really successful businesses do planning. None of them avoid this. So I think it's a question of like, what do you want? If your vision includes a very successful, profitable business in the future, this is critically important work. And so I applaud you for being here and for doing it. Um, there's a few things that really become the starting point for where you go from here. The first is just sharing your goals. So, for anybody that's part of your business that's not here today, I want to make sure you share your goals with them, that they know what's happening in Q2, and they also understand what their role in is it, or what their role is in it. How do they contribute to the success of your company? This next piece is just assigning and scheduling the task. And so when we have team members, we can assign work, we can delegate it. But when we don't, the same logic is going to apply. We need to schedule it, which is why I asked a couple of you that were already done with your goals. I'm like, hey, look at the month of April and be like, when can I get this stuff done? The business owners that are most successful are those that work on it straight away. They're not the ones that go, okay, well, let's just see where we are in a couple of weeks, because we know that that couple of weeks creeps and then suddenly it's June and we're going, oh, I didn't get all that stuff done that was in my Q2 plan. Um, so we want to make sure we jump on it like right away. So start to put some task in your calendar. And another thing you can do is obviously check-ins. And I really like doing these weekly. I have two schools of thought. I like doing it on Monday because Monday lets me go, okay, what's on the plan? What do I want to work on this week? And go ahead and start plugging those things into my calendar. Other business owners like to do it on Friday and they kind of wrap up what happened that week and then they start to inform their calendar for the week ahead. But bottom line, make sure you're doing it at least weekly. If you stay on top of it, you're more likely to achieve your goals. The next is about accountability. While many of us are self-starters, and frankly, most business owners are to a great degree, there's a certain joy that comes from being accountable to other people. So, to the extent that you have team members, which some of you do, being able to talk with one another about what we're doing and setting deadlines and holding one another accountable for getting the work done is great. But there can be other things like having peers that are, also business owners, or joining a mastermind group, or having a coach or somebody support you while you're getting this stuff done, keeping you on track. Uh, the next is about tracking progress. So beyond the weekly check-in, what we're really saying here is like, what are the metrics that matter? So you may remember earlier I said, we're looking largely at qualitative information today, but there are quantitative things that matter. It's where we're putting numbers to it and saying like, okay, how much money? That's one of them. Okay. Revenue, profit, expenses. We want to measure that. What else? Do we have a number of social media posts we're trying to achieve, or a number of new clients we want? Like, let's put some numbers that are related to your goals, track those, measure those, and that'll make your next quarterly planning even more powerful. And the last piece is just like celebrating these small wins, because, we're business owners are terrible at celebrating. We're just terrible at it. It's like we're on to the next damn thing. And we really need to celebrate the little stuff as we go, instead of beating ourselves up that we haven't gotten, the big things done, or we're not where we want to be in our business. So I really encourage you, like, find ways to set little mini milestones that say like, okay, when we get to this is a celebration. And it doesn't have to be formal, it doesn't have to be crazy, but I want you to be able to celebrate it and feel good about your progress. So I'll stop here. I'll stop sharing my screen. And I will just turn it over to see if there's any questions or any stuff that you guys want to talk about. Anything? Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like you have more clarity around what it is that you need to do in Q2 in order to reach your vision and goals? More clarity? Uh-huh. Do you feel more confident that if you do those things, you'll get better results? Okay. Do you have any questions? Any areas where you're like, I'm feeling uncertain or doubtful? No. I see some no's. Not so much. Cool. Great. Then I think we've done it. We've even ended a few minutes early. All right, I'm going to stop recording. That way we can actually just say hello at the end of this. So for the recording, bye.